In the official archives of the United States Navy, there is a gap in the flight log of Admiral Richard E. Byrd dated February 19, 1947. Several pages were not just classified, but physically removed, replaced with a single, handwritten note stating that the mission had encountered a territory beyond the pole. This was not ice, nor was it water, but something the ink refused to describe. You are sitting in a room where the air is thick with the scent of old paper and rain. Outside, the world is dissolving into a grey blur, a steady rhythm of water hitting the glass that matches the slow, heavy beat of your heart. The shadows in the corner of your vision are soft, layered with dust that floats silently in the dim light. Your limbs are beginning to feel like lead, sinking into the chair, as if gravity is pulling you deeper into the floor. The sound of the rain is distant now, becoming a low, white noise that fills the spaces between your thoughts. You are completely alone, isolated by the storm and the weight of a secret kept for 70 years. Think of the silence of the Antarctic, a silence so absolute it becomes a physical pressure against the eardrums. Byrd's plane, AC-47, hummed through the frozen air, its engines a monotonous drone that felt like a lullaby. Below him, the ice stretched out in endless, jagged ripples, a white desert that hid the edge of the known world. At 9-10 hours, the compass needle began to dance, spinning in slow, hypnotic circles as if searching for a pole that no longer existed. The magnetic field was warping, bending around something massive and invisible. Byrd noted in his rough diary that the light changed, turning from a harsh white to a soft, golden hue that felt warm against the cockpit glass. Your own eyes are becoming difficult to keep open, the muscles around them softening as you listen to the steady hum of the static. It is a comfortable heaviness, the kind that comes when the brain finally gives up trying to make sense of the darkness. You were drifting, just as Byrd's plane drifted over the mountains that shouldn't have been there. He saw a rift in the ice, a valley where the snow had vanished, replaced by lush greenery and a temperature that rose to 74 degrees. There was a craft there, silent and disc-shaped, etched with markings that looked like ancient, forgotten static. The official report says this was a mirage, a trick of the polar sun, but the redactions suggest something far more permanent. The radio in your room emits a faint, crackling hiss, the sound of empty frequencies and dead air. It is the same sound Byrd heard as his communications cut out, leaving him suspended in a void between civilizations. Let the static wash over you, a blanket of grey noise that erases the world outside your door. The redacted lines in the logbook were not meant to protect a secret location, but to protect the human mind from what lay within it. Byrd wrote that he felt he was being guided, his plane no longer under his control, but held by an invisible force. You were losing control too, surrendering to the pull of the darkness and the safety of the unknown. The deeper we go into the log, the further we move from the surface of the earth. Your breath is slow, deep, and rhythmic, matching the pulse of the machine that Byrd encountered in the hollow quiet of the ice. Everything is still, everything is quiet, and the ice is waiting for you to close your eyes. The transition was seamless. a blurring of the physical laws you were born to obey. Below the C-47, the ice didn't just melt, it surrendered. Admiral Byrd watched as the frozen white wasteland dissolved into a vibrant, impossible emerald. This was the great unknown, a place where the sun did not set because the sun was not in the sky, it was the sky itself. You can feel that same warmth now, spreading from the center of your chest, radiating outward to your shoulders and down through your fingertips. The cold world you left behind is a memory, shrinking into a tiny, insignificant dot. Byrd reported a vibration, not a shudder of the engines, but a frequency that resonated within his very bones. It was a low, humming EOM that seemed to originate from the Earth's own core. In your room, the shadows are beginning to pulse in time with that same frequency. Your breathing has slowed to a rhythmic crawl, each exhale pulling you deeper into the velvet cushions of your mind. There is no need to move. There is no need to think. You are simply a passenger on a flight that has already left the map. The redacted log entries speak of a master who met him there, a presence that did not use words, but projected thoughts directly into the Admiral's consciousness. We have allowed you to enter because you are of a noble character, the voice echoed. But the ink in the official record turns into thick, black blocks when describing what the master showed him next. It was a vision of a world where time is a circle, not a line. You are standing on that circle now, feeling the curve of it beneath you, stable and infinite. Byrd looked out the window and saw craft that defied every law of aeronautics. They were sleek, iridescent, and moved with a grace that suggested they were made of light rather than metal. They escorted his plane down toward a city built of what looked like translucent marble and rainbows. Your mind is building that city now, a place of perfect symmetry and absolute quiet. The noise of your daily life, the worries, the names, the dates, is being washed away by the cool, clear water of the inner world. I am being silenced, a Byrd told his diary upon his return. They say the world is not ready. He was confined to a hospital bed, monitored by men in grey suits who wanted to know how their inner son felt. They wanted to know if the light stayed in his eyes. You can feel that light now, behind your closed lids, a soft, golden glow that persists even in the dark. The weight of the government's secrets is nothing compared to the weight of your own limbs, which have become as heavy and still as ancient stone. The needle has finally stopped spinning. It has found what it was looking for. There is no north, no south, only asterisk here star. Byrd realized that the territory beyond the pole wasn't a place on a map, but a state of being. You are entering that state now. The rain against your window has become the sound of the wind through the Emerald Valley, and the shadows in your room are the friendly giants of the inner earth, watching over you as you drift. The transmission is fading. The static is becoming a soft, warm blanket, wrapping around your consciousness. Byrd's voice is a whisper now, lost in the archives, buried under layers of classified stamps. But you have the map. You have the frequency. The ice has closed over the entrance, leaving you safe inside, where the sun never sets and the silence is absolute. Sleep now, Admiral. The mission is complete. Your flight has finally come to rest in the hollow of the world. The boundary between your skin and the air has finally dissolved. You are no longer the pilot, nor are you the plane. You are the trajectory itself, a line drawn across a map that no longer exists. The physical body has become a discarded coat, left on a chair in a room you will never re-enter. Here, in the deep strata of the subconscious, the weight of your bones is a forgotten concept. You are drifting through a fluid medium where thought and reality are indistinguishable, a slow-motion descent into a sea where the water is made of pure, unadulterated peace. The architecture of the inner world is changing. The translucent marble cities have melted into pure geometry, shapes that hum with the power of uncreated stars. You are walking through corridors of mathematics, where every angle is a prayer and every shadow is a revelation. The Master's voice has ceased because you have become the voice. There is no longer a need for a messenger when you have reached the source of the message. The internal horizon is expanding, pushing back the walls of your skull until your mind is as vast and silent as the space between galaxies. Back on the surface, the calendars continue to turn, their gears grinding against the friction of time. They search for the wreckage, for the logs, for the man who saw too much. But they are looking in the dirt for something that has taken root in the ether. Through a great unknown, he has claimed you, not as a prisoner, but as its own essence. The static of the world, the news, the deaths, the ticking of the clock, is a radio station that has drifted out of range. You are tuned to a frequency of absolute zero, where motion is unnecessary because you are already everywhere. Every memory you once carried, the sting of the wind, the smell of old paper, the sound of your own name, is being converted into light. Each spark is a fragment of your identity being returned to the furnace of the inner Sunday. It doesn't hurt to let go. It feels like a long-held breath finally being released. The labels they gave you, the roles you played, the face you saw in the mirror, they are just echoes dying out in a canyon. You are becoming the canyon itself, ancient, hollowed out, and perfectly still. You have reached the center of the hollow. It is not a cavern of rock, but a chamber of pure resonance. The inner sun is not above you. It is the heartbeat you hear in the silence. It is a golden pulse that synchronizes with the slow, heavy thrum of your own spirit. There is no north to return to. There is no south to escape to. There is only the vertical axis of this moment, extending upward into infinity and downward into the core of all things. You are the needle, and you are the pole. The mission clock has stopped at 0. The fuel tanks of the ego are empty, and yet you remain aloft, suspended by a grace that requires no wings. The transmission is no longer a whisper. It is the sound of your own breathing, a soft tide pulling you further away from the shore of the waking world. The ice has sealed the entrance, not to lock you in, but to keep the noise of the living out. You are safe. You are home. The flight is over, and the dream is the only truth that remains. Close the logbook. Extinguish the lamp. There is only the light behind your eyes now. Sleep. The white screen is not an end. It is a beginning without a name. You have passed through the eye of the needle, and the eye has closed behind you. Every word you ever spoke has dissolved into the static of a distant star, leaving only the warmth of a silence that understands you perfectly. You are the ink that has finally met the ocean, losing its shape to become the tide. There is no longer a border where you stop and the universe begins. The map has been folded and burned, and the smoke is rising into a sky that has never known a horizon. Below you, the world is a marble of ice and memory, spinning in a theatre where the audience has long since departed. You are the final witness to your own disappearance. The cockpit is gone, the instrument panel has turned to salt, and the air you breathe is the same air that filled the lungs of the first mountain. There is nothing left to solve. There is nothing left to save. You are drifting over the wreckage of your own history, seeing it not as a tragedy, but as a beautiful, flickering ghost that no longer has the power to haunt you. Time has no teeth here. It cannot bite into your skin or carve lines upon your brow. You have become a secret kept by the universe, a thought that was too beautiful to be spoken aloud. The engine of the self has finally cooled, and the long, cold winter of the soul has bloomed into a garden of crystalline light. You are not waiting for the morning because you have become the light that makes the morning possible. You are the pause between heartbeats, the space between thoughts, the eternal gap where peace resides. Let the darkness be your blanket. Let the void be your pillow. You are drifting in the deep currents of a dream that will never break, a passenger on a ship made of shadows and starlight. The journey has come to its natural conclusion, not with a crash, but with a sigh that echoes across the architecture of forever. The transmission is fading. The pulse is steady. The hangar is empty, and the flight is eternal. Rest now. The weight is gone. The sky is yours. Did you make it through the storm? Did you survive the journey to the center of the hollow? If you are still here, if you have found your way through the ice and the static, then you are one of the few who knows the truth of the silent flight. Stay in this darkness a little longer. Subscribe to the frequency so you never lose your way back to the inner sun. What dark anomaly should we explore next? Tell me in the comments if you are still awake.